Advanced tickets have gone on sale for the upcoming Marvel movie Captain America Brave New World, and so far, looking at the early projections, it's not looking too good. I mean, $86 to $95 million domestic opening may sound good on the surface until you start taking into account this would be one of the lower opening weekends compared to other recent Marvel movies. I'm talking post-Endgame here. And this is a movie that costs so much for the studio, they probably need to make well over $1 billion in order to just make profitability on this one. And other Marvel movies that have opened up higher than this have actually failed to even reach the $1 billion mark. So things aren't looking too good for it right now. And it looks like Marvel is, I'm not saying throwing up a Hail Mary or anything like that, but they're doing something sort of unconventional in order to try to get people to buy early tickets. And that's the subject of today's story right here. Disney attempts to ride Marvel rivals' coattails, announces Regal Cinema pre-sale tickets for Captain America Brave New World will come with exclusive in-game skin. So basically, if you buy a ticket to their game or to their movie, then you can actually get a free skin and other stuff for Marvel rivals, something that's actually doing well. Now, as far as tie-in promotions go, because that's not really anything unusual when it comes to the movie business. There's tie-in promotional deals all the time. And I've seen more unusual ones like this. Something that comes to mind when Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny came out, for instance, there was a tie-in promotional with Applebee's where if you spend so much on a meal or whatever, then you can get a free ticket to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And at the time I said that was clearly an attempt to try to get people to actually watch their movie because no one was really interested in it. And I'm not saying that that's 100% the case when it comes to this deal right here, because there is some way it makes sense since they're both Marvel properties, but it still does kind of scream of desperation because right now the MCU is kind of, I'm not saying it's entirely on life support, but it's not in a good place right now. And clearly Marvel Rivals is actually something that's popular. So it seems to be this is what they're trying to hitch their wagon to because they know that they can't really stand on their own. As Marvel Rivals continues to set the video game world ablaze, Disney has moved to cash in on the hero shooter's current popularity by offering an exclusive in-game item bundle of any and all Regal Cinema patrons who purchase a ticket to see the upcoming and largely unwanted Captain America Brave New World. Yeah, and I would say it is mostly unwanted. It's unwanted in the sense that people didn't really think Falcon should have become a Captain America. He was good on his own. I think it would have been better off if it was Bucky. But even then, this movie, I'm not saying continuation of the MCU was something that's entirely unwanted, but I just think a lot of people aren't really satisfied with what they're getting with this one. And I think it's kind of reflected in the early ticket sales so far. As any video game, comic book, and general Marvel fan who has been on the internet recently can attest, the NetEase developed Marvel Rivals has been the absolute talk of the digital town ever since its release in December 2024, largely thanks to both its fresh and stylish take on the hero shooter genre, as well as its genuine dedication to respecting its source material. Scrolling further down here. Meanwhile, the sentiment surrounding Captain America Brave New World has been quite the opposite, to say the least, between its adaptation of a comic book premise that most don't care for, and that's talking about Sam Wilson's run as Captain America. That's something, even though it is from the comic books, it wasn't particularly popular in the comic books, and they kind of had to undo it. So it seems strange that the MCU would actually choose to base almost the future of their franchise on this, but you know, that's the decision they made, and now we're gonna have to see the consequences of that. Its continual reshoots and subsequent ballooning budget and production at perhaps the lowest quality point of Marvel Cinematic Universe overall history. Pre-release material surrounding Sam Wilson's big adventure have been met with little more than eye-rolling mockery and disinterest, not just from fans, but even general audiences. Yeah, and I think that's really the crux of all this right here. People just don't really care about this, or just not interested in continuing this sort of thing, or at least not in the manner that Marvel has actually gone about doing things. Now, it's not like other movies in the MCU in the past that they didn't look good going into it because the actors or the director said something to try to antagonize the fans. So far, I haven't really seen a ton of that. And a lot of people actually like Anthony Mackie in the MCU as the role of Sam Wilson. I mean, I personally think he's great as Sam Wilson as Falcon. I just don't see him as much of a leading man for something like this. Maybe I could be proven wrong, but I don't know. I think he's just, I'm not saying he's biting off more than he can chew, but I think Marvel is putting an awful lot on his shoulders for this sort of thing. And I just don't expect it to really work out. And like I said, it's not as much that people have animosity towards this movie. It's just, it seems kind of underwhelming. Even the trailer for it, it didn't look terrible, but it just didn't look like it was something that was really going to excite me and get me wanting to pay money to watch it in theaters. I could probably be convinced if word of mouth for this movie is very good. If people watch it and be like, "Oh, this movie looks amazing," or "This movie's amazing, you got to check it out," then maybe I'd consider it. But it's not like when it came to Deadpool and Wolverine, for instance, where I was like, "Okay, I know this is probably just going to be silly, but I want to see this in theater," so I was more excited for that. And I think a lot of people share that sentiment. That's why that movie had such a powerful opening weekend and ended up making a huge amount at the global box office. But in a stroke of luck for Captain America Brave New World, thanks to its multiple delays, it had the fortune of releasing in the same general time frame as Marvel Rivals, thus allowing Disney and Marvel Studios to promote the film by banking on the game's popularity. And it's something also to point out, Marvel Rivals isn't really made in conjunction with Marvel Studios. This is kind of a coincidence because it is a separate thing entirely. A different company has the rights to making that. Marvel Rivals is popular, but that's kind of in spite of what Disney has been doing with Marvel. But I mean, I will hand it to Disney and Marvel Studios right now. I mean, if they found an opportunity to try to hitch their wagon to something else that's popular because it's Marvel related, well then, yeah, you might as well take that opportunity. And this isn't necessarily the worst type of tie-in promotional thing in the world. It actually seems like it works out pretty well. It's just a matter of how effective it's going to be. And I personally don't think it's going to really move the needle too much, but maybe to some extent. To this end, on January 17th, the aforementioned Regal Cinemas announced that any time for the MCU sequel purchases within the next 4 weeks, in other words, the offer comes to an end on February 17th, will come with a complimentary promo code for an exclusive in-game bundle. Its contents includes a spray of Red Hulk holding Captain America's shield, a nameplate featuring Sam Wilson extending the wings on his Falcon cap suit, and as of yet unrevealed skin. And here's the little promotional thing they have for it. So that's what they're doing right now. And kind of like what I was saying at the start of the video, I think this is, I'm not saying it's like the most desperate attempt. It seemed to be kind of like a no-brainer sort of tie-in thing. Like, this is popular out there, so let's just throw a little bit money at it and see if we can do a tie-in promotional thing for this. And I think, yeah, some people who play Marvel Rivals like the game, maybe they're a little bit interested in seeing Captain America Brave New World, so they're like, well, I wasn't the most interested, but if I'm just considering it like, oh, I'm just paying the money for my ticket, that's just paying for this extra stuff right here, and I guess I get a movie out of it. Or maybe they're thinking like, I don't really hate the MCU right now, or I don't think this movie looks great, but I don't think it looks terrible. I think that's kind of the people this is going to capture, and there's probably going to be some who are going to buy a ticket specifically because of this who otherwise would not have. But I don't think it's going to be a significant amount to make the movie successful if it wasn't already going to be successful. But I guess at this point, it's just a matter of questioning, is this going to cost Marvel more than what they're going to gain from it? I really don't think so. I think Marvel Rivals is just kind of looking at this like, well, I mean, it's going to get people to continue to play our game, so we're fine with it. I think this is probably as far as marketing spins or pushes go, it's a cheaper one for Marvel Studios, so that's why they took it. And it's probably going to benefit them in some way, shape, or form. But I really don't see Captain America Brave New World becoming a success, at least not with what we've seen so far from the early projections. It really does predicate on the movie coming out, having that opening weekend, and then people just absolutely love this movie. And then I can see it being more successful after that, because I pointed out in the past, which one of the Spider-Mans, I think it was Far From Home, that had a similar opening weekend, and it ended up grossing over $1 billion at the international box office, or at the global box office, because of how much people like that movie. So maybe we can see something like that when it comes to this movie, but I personally just am not expecting that one. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think this was actually a good move by Marvel Studios to try to do this tie-in promotional deal? Or do you think it's just kind of wasted effort on their part? And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.